September is now in order. Could we have the roll call?
Mr. Breaux,
Here.
Mr. Green, Ms. Hanson, Ms. Rutherford, Ms. Fauntleroy, Mr. Harrell, Ms. Martin, Ms. Moore, Dr. Peterson, Ms. Baker, Ms. McCullum, Ms. Lamey, Ms. Hurstis, Mr. Kuzan, Ms. Rufino Gallagher.
Ms. Fauntleroy will now lead us in invocation and pledge.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to meet here tonight, Lord, safely and freely, Lord. I thank you for protection during the hurricane last week and that you protected our families and our schools. Lord, I ask that you bless all of our military and keep them safe, Lord. Thank you for all they do to allow us the opportunity to just be here and to speak our minds, Lord. That's such a privilege that so many people don't have. Lord, I just ask you bless them and their families. Lord, tonight as we meet, we ask for wisdom and guidance, Lord, and we seek that from you, that Lord, to help us make the best decisions for our children and for our district. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do any of the board members have visitors that they would like to recognize tonight? Ms. Fauntleroy.
I actually don't have visitors, but I want to recognize a special group that I meant to last week. And I hope Mr. Jabby isn't doing this. A lot of these kids went to Lee Road when I was principal, and then they have moved on. There were a lot of kids that went, but I'm going to mention the ones I know of from Covington High. They competed in powerlifting in Malta. If you're ever going to get to go on a field trip, that's the place to go. But yeah, I just want to say their names. Some of them, I know their names because went to my school. Some, I apologize if I mispronounce. J.T. Silvera, Camille Crutcher, Lila Cooper, Kaylee Robin, Nick Caldonia, and Chase Lawton. Just congratulations to those guys. And I just want to do a plug for Covington High also, because I went last year. I know Mr. Green's the man to beat on the 9/11 stair challenge, climbing the stairs. Because of weather, they've had to postpone their September 11th remembrance event. And it's an amazing program that they do. And they are rescheduling it September 30th. Like you said, it's too important to cancel, so it's just postponed. If you are from another high school, I would highly encourage you to send a representative to see how this is done. And it's just something that builds such character in the kids. I would love to see all of our high schools do something like this. So September 30th, 5:30 at Covington High.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Ms. Hanson.
Thank you. Just briefly, I was not able to attend the September 5th Committee as a Whole meeting. I did watch it in its entirety. Y'all had a powerhouse night that night. But I would like to thank Representative Wright for coming to the board and speaking with the board. I know that had been a tough spot to be in because we don't always, as a board, maybe we don't always agree, and we don't always agree necessarily with everything the state does or Bessie does or whoever. So it was I thank him very much for his time, for his patience with us, and I look forward to us having opportunities to discuss upcoming issues that impact education. And I thank him for giving us that opportunity and being here that night.
Anyone else? Mr. Java, would you give us a superintendent update?
And this week has been very difficult. I'll kind of get into that in a few minutes. But we did start off this week on a very high note. We many of the board members and my staff, we attended the Ray Alford Minority Reception. Just tremendous group of new educators, new minority educators. And I really want to appreciate Mr. Bro and Mr. Kuzan for all their kind words. Mr. Ron Randolph, that was our guest speaker. It was just a really cool event, and Channel 13 was able to capture that event. So let's take a look at that real quick.
STPPS.
Welcome to the Ray Alford Community Reception. Ray Alford served the St. Tammany Parish community in many ways, but he was passionate about his work on the St. Tammany Parish School Board.
This is an opportunity for all of our educators, especially African Americans and minorities, to actually come together and engage in exchanging greetings with one another.
You know, Mr. Ray and I go back so far. He was a huge supporter of mine when I was at North Shore High School as a coach and as an administrator, and he just supported everything that we did here in this school system.
Each year we do this event, it just helps us to see my dad's legacy in action. And it's really an honor to see what he contributed to St. Tammany Parish on all the years that he was in office.
Know who you are, what you wanted to do in life, and that is not only to teach, but to guide.
Just like meeting these people and hearing their stories are just so inspiring, knowing that this could be me one day.
Just remember this, Ray always had the best interests of the school system in his heart.
If you knew my daddy, you know he's smiling big.
Go Saints.
And Mr. Kuzan ended it well. Go Saints. He's proud of us doing his work, and he's also proud of his Saints as well.
Again, just a great event. Appreciate all the board members that were able to come out and to have Mr. Alford's family there and to be able to celebrate his legacy and keep that going is a tremendous was a tremendous mark on this week for me, for sure. So thank you all very much. Christy has kind of posted on, we want to start promoting our College and Career Expo. Many of y'all have attended. It is a tremendous event. It is a community event. It's not just a St. Tammany Parish Schools event. It is a community event. It'll be in the same fashion as last year. We'll start off at the Harbor Center. That'll be on October the 2nd. We'll move over to the Castine Center on October 7th. We have reconfigured as much as we can. We've had so many people reach out that want to be vendors, that want to be part of this expo, that we reconfigured both events, try and get as many as we can. We did a complete reconfigure at the Castine Center and tried to maximize the space. We had cordoned off some space for a hospitality. We've moved that around because we want as many vendors as possible. So if you are interested, please come out. It's from 5 to 8 on both of those nights. Just a tremendous event. We have so many colleges, universities, technical schools, workforce initiatives, military. We've got a little bit of everything. The feedback we got last year, not just from the students, but also from the parents about what they learned, just tremendous event. So please join us if you can and come out. You can always go to our website, stpsb.org. You can click on the expo and look at the sites, and it'll tell you who is coming to our event and those people that are already guaranteed and locked their spots in. So please take a look at that if you are interested in coming out. We would love to have you again from 5 to 8 on both of those nights. I want to take a few minutes. This, like I said, this week was a tough week. It was a long week, but it was a good week. On Monday, I started off in Baton Rouge, testified in front of the Educational Task Force that I've told you guys about. I talked for about 20 minutes on curriculum and the school board's lack of the ability to choose a curriculum and to do their due diligence, what's best for our community, not just what's tier one or considered what the state wants us to do. So I talked about that for quite a bit. Jody Purvis from Livingston was next to me. He hit on some of the same marks, but we had teachers and administrators that talked about how much time we're wasting in instruction with dibbles, with all the testing that's going on. One of the kindergarten teachers spoke about the amount of time she's spending dibbles testing the first 30 days, now she's doing interim assessments, and she didn't have enough data to do interim assessments because she spent all of her time doing dibbles testing. So I think the representatives that are included on that task force are getting some very eye-opening stats. I feel like we're making tremendous progress, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to come out of that task force. But it is on the HR 281. You can pull it up. You can take a look. It's recorded, and you can take a look at that. It lasts about 2 hours. And again, it was superintendents, principals, and teachers there talking. It was really good conversation. On Tuesday, went back to Baton Rouge. I hosted my first Superintendent Region 2 meeting. We had probably the largest turnout we've had. I put the guilt trip on them so they all would be there, and I think 12 of the 15 were able to make it. The 3 that couldn't come, most of them had to reschedule things because they went through the hurricane issues and they had to move things around from the week before. So, I really appreciate them being there. Christy got to hear a lot of the conversation and some of the deep dives that we take into some of the subject matter and a lot of the issues that were all happening across the state, across the region, not only in St. Tammany, but everywhere. So just appreciate all those guys coming out and ladies, and we had some great conversation. Hurricane Francine is in the rearview mirror, thank goodness. But I just want to really quickly go back. I want to, Wednesday, I am not a meteorologist. I've said this over and over. My team is not meteorologists. We rely on the Emergency Office of Preparedness to help us out. Mr. Ori and Mr. Semino give us great information and great weather guidance that they gather from the National Weather Service. That's what they do during these times. This is what they do full time. So they gave us great guidance. Obviously, we made the right choice. But there was pushback on Thursday, moving into Friday. But I think the community needs to understand, board members, and I know people I'm sure reached out to you as they reached out to me. When all 15 of our schools can reopen safely, when our buses can run almost their entire route with limited exception, when the roads are clear, when it's safe, when we can get back in, we've got to reopen school. We have to. We have to reopen school. The community relies on us for St. Tammany to continue to flourish and for business to be open, things to happen. We've got to take their kids back into school when it's safe to do so. It was the right decision. And as the guidance we gave, if you needed extenuating circumstance help, reach out to your administrator, supervisor, and we will guide you on what to do and help you line something up. For students that had to miss, that couldn't get out of their neighborhoods, didn't have power, whatever it may have been, we'll work with those students to make that work up. So the 95% of the parish was open. So we've got to take that into account. Staying home Friday would have been a zero benefit to anybody. So it's our duty to get back in school when it's safe, and we made those calls. And again, thank you to the maintenance department, thank you to our administrators and our custodians that went out and assessed our campuses, took care of the minor issues, mopped up the blown rain that had come in, took care of some minor leaks that went through. They did a tremendous job. But I cannot say enough, and I say this every time we have a storm, our power partners, Coleco, Washington, St. Tammany, and all of the technicians that come into our area, they are unbelievable. They truly are. They truly are. I lost power about 1 o'clock. I made it through the entire storm. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I lost power. And by 3 o'clock the next afternoon, I had power. I mean, that's absolutely reasonable, considering I couldn't even get out of my neighborhood. Absolutely reasonable. So it is... it's just a testament to the work they do. They go out when the weather is still horrible, and they start repairing lines and cleaning things up so that we can get back to some normalcy. And that was a great thing, hearing from some of our superintendent brethren. Everybody was reopened back on Tuesday. Even Terrebonne and Lafourche, that was hit pretty hard where it came in, they were able to reopen. So I just appreciate all those people in making that happen, which is a true testament to everyone. But real quick, I don't want to belabor this, but I think I need to mention it. I sent you all some emails, and I've put the robocalls out to all the administrators. Ms. Hart has talked about this. The team has talked about this. I've talked about this. The reason Ms. Senator Mizell addressed the cell phone issue because of the distractions that it was causing in our classrooms. Social media is a problem for our young people. It is a problem. And what's happening is, in wherever this took place, they're telling us somewhere around San Bernardino, California, is where some of these threads have been starting. Then they get sent out on Instagram, TikTok, these other things. They get sent out. Our students take a picture of them, and who knows? Who knows if they're real or not? At that point, they take pictures of them, they forward them out, and it becomes this domino effect of something that just, it takes on a life of its own. Covington PD put out a press release this afternoon going into greater detail about the Covington High situation. But the remnants of this is not only touching them, it has touched every high school campus so far and has trickled on to the junior high campuses. So many of you that have kids, y'all got robocalls from those principals tonight that we sent out. The communication department did an amazing job of getting that information out so we could get it out to try to educate parents. We're taking some extra precautions at Covington High tomorrow, just so that students feel safe and supported. And I sent those to you. We're going to take some extra precautions there, just to make sure what they've dealt with the last 2 days, because they got the brunt of the original before it was really truly known where that originated from. So I just can't say enough. I reached out to Chief Farrell in Covington. Covington PD did a tremendous job. They had extra boots on the ground. They got parole and security to come in and do extra patrols. They had a tremendous showing to the community. They were there to support them. So I can't say enough about law enforcement. Look, they're with us lockstep. Every time we have an issue, law enforcement is there with us. So I really appreciate them, and I appreciate Chief Farrell and the time and effort, because this took a lot of manpower. I don't know how safe the rest of Covington was yesterday, but Covington High School was the safest place in America yesterday. And again today. So again, I just appreciate them and the time they put in, and hopefully we can get through this. But Senator Kennedy has sent out some things about TikTok and some of the issues that he has. I can't tell parents enough, you've got to check your child's social media. Please don't wait to the last minute to where law enforcement is knocking on your door, addressing an issue that should never have been an issue. So when we go knocking, I mean, that happened this week. When the tip comes in and that's the evidence that they've got at the time, they're coming knocking and they're going through your stuff, your personal things. So please take precautions to do what's right for your child and for the community. I just can't say enough about that. Social media is a problem. It's a problem. For young people, it's a problem. So, Mr. Bro, that's all I have, but thank you.
Do any board members have any questions or comments? Mr. Fino Gallagher.
I just want to tell you, like I said, no matter what decision you would have made for Francine, you're not going to please everybody.
No, ma'am.
It doesn't matter. You do what you think is best, and that's all we can go with, because none of us, you have to go with what the people that are the professionals in that. And as the joke went on Facebook, Francine decided to move around the potholes in New Orleans, and that's why she traveled, and nobody could have made that call to know that storm was going to do that.
Right.
Nobody.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can't say enough about it. Again, our partners are amazing. So that's who I rely on. I don't stand outside with a lightning pole and say, we're going to have school or not going to have school. So the partners, our professionals are amazing. They're amazing.
Mr. Harrell?
Thank you, President Brown. Sorry, I'm running late, Superintendent Javier. Did you by chance mention Gold Day?
No, I have not.
September?
That's in my email tomorrow.
Okay.
But yes, we'll be putting it out. Next week is Gold Day for childhood cancer. So we will be supporting that initiative like we do every year. So we are looking forward to doing that, but that will be in the employee email tomorrow, Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anyone else? All right, we're moving on to Communications Awards.
Yes, sir.
I suppose that's you.
Mr. Bro, board members, it is my honor to present our Communication Awards this year. Our communication team is making an impact in Louisiana and at the national level. Tonight, we'll be presenting our most recent communication awards from the National School Public Relations Association, better known as NSPRA. To win these awards, you must compete against thousands of other school districts across the United States and Canada. Our Director of Communication, Ms. Meredith Mendez, Communication Manager, Ms. Angela Dugan, and Communication Specialist, Christian Distrabo and Brian Nixdorf did an outstanding job with our strategy, our implementation, and our effectiveness of telling the story of St. Tammany Parish this past school year, and winning 8 national awards this past year. The team won the NSPRA's top prize, the Golden Achievement Award for elevating school websites and empowering school communicators, with Angela Dugan serving as our lead on this project. There are also awards given for our St. Tammany Parish e-newsletter, our social media post, our Fast Facts, and our Lead Strong Awards. But the awards didn't stop with NSPRA. At the New Orleans Press Club, our annual awards banquet, Christian Distrabo was recognized for second place in our public relations for our Lead Strong Awards and our video campaign. Mr. Rhett Sharp won third place for TV videography for his video essay on the Day of the Dead story. And recently retired Kevin Mumphrey also won third place with our best video editing story for the Fontainebleau High School band camp. I would like to also say how proud I am of the entire communications team and the job they do telling our story every day. There's a lot of behind the scenes work, and all these people deserve tremendous recognition. From our strategic communications on social media to our TV station and everything in between, as you can see, we are truly blessed. When you go on our social media, when you go on Channel 13, when you go on our YouTube stations, the work we're putting out, recognizing our students, our faculty, and our staff is just amazing. So at this time, I'd like to see if the communication team would come forward and please receive their awards. Let's start with you, Angela. You get the serious award. You get the serious award. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Christian, you are the man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Brian, you did a great job. Appreciate it. Great job. Brett, you're the man, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, man. I need to give you a whole finger. Truly just great group. Truly, I'm surrounded, there's so much talent. There's so much talent in this school district. We are truly blessed. It just blows me away when you see the stories that we take part in, but the stories that we cover. So it's just amazing. Truly blessed, amazing students, amazing faculty, staff, administration, and just an amazing team. And we're all here working for this school system so that we reward the people that deserve all of the praise in this school district. But thank you all very much. Appreciate you very much.
We'll now move on to the business part of the meeting. We'll start with the consent agenda. Does any board member, do any of the board members wish to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? I will now read them. Approval of minutes of regular meeting held August 8th, 2024. Approval of minutes of public hearing held August 22nd, 2024. Recommends acceptance of Woodlake Elementary School limestone parking as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendation, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of Abita Springs Middle School, replacement of rooftop units on main building and Lake Harbor Middle School, HVAC units at cafeteria, library, corridor, and gymnasium as substantially complete, subject to architect's recommendation, submission of all regulatory requirements, and approval of Superintendent Javia. Recommends acceptance of a resolution adopting the superintendent's proposed budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Recommends acceptance of resolution of support for HR 82, that's U.S. House of Representatives Bill 82, subject to the windfall elimination provision, repeal of the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. Recommends acceptance of the revision to school board policy GAMB, staff dress, accessories, and grooming. Does anyone want to remove any items from the agenda? Okay, I will now have a motion. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda? We have Michelle Hurstis and Moore, Ms. Moore. Okay, comments from the public? No comments from the public, comments from the board? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, that passes unanimously. Mr. Alfonso?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Board Superintendent Javier. Excuse me. Appropriate retirement resolution, the following certificated personnel subsequent to the August 8th, 2024 meeting. Paul J. Pye, Mandeville High, 25.03 years, 16.03 years in St. Tammany Parish. Scott M. Hildebrand, Slidell Junior High, 31.44 years, 12.44 years in St. Tammany Parish.
Two.
Two and certificated, yes, sir.
All right. Do I have a motion? Ms. Moore? Mr. Cousy? Any comments from the board, from the public? Comments from the board? Ms. Rutherford?
I'm shocked that John's retiring. And I don't want to see him go. Can we not make him go? Can we not let him go?
You can vote against it.
I'm going to vote against it. John, you can't retire. John Pye.
Any other comments from the board? All right, everybody, please vote. That passes unanimously. Uncertificated.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. Appropriate retirement resolution of the following employee support services personnel subsequent to the August 8th, 2024 meeting. Lisa D. Page, Alton Elementary, 19.99 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Abby H. Luckadoo, Bonnie Cole Elementary, 12.87 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. James C. McGowan, Covington Warehouse, 10.63 years, 3.21 years in St. Tammany Parish. Carolyn A. Busby, Honey Island Elementary, 11.12 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Jacqueline C. Michel, Lyon Elementary, 25.51 years, 18.84 years in St. Tammany Parish. Melody D. Menard, Treen Technology Center, 34.17 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. And Kevin C. Mumphrey, Treen Technology Center, 32.85 years, 16.85 years in St. Tammany Parish.
We have a motion, Ms. Hanson. Ms. Baker. Any comments from the public? Comments from the board? Ms. Moore.
I just want to say, I actually hired Lisa Page. She's a wonderful para, and sorry to see her going, but I'm happy for her next phase of her life. Good luck, Lisa.
Ms. Hanson.
Thank you to all of our employees, and I hope they all enjoy their retirement. A special thank you to Melody Menard and Kevin Mumphrey. I know the hours that they put in at the Treen Technology Center with St. Tammany Parish Public School System TV. As a supervisor here at Central Office, I worked very closely with Dr. Menard and Kevin Mumphrey every month when we would have entertainment before the board meetings, and they would videotape it, and so I got to work very closely with them. But for the many years that they've both put in, enjoy your retirement, and thank you for your service.
Any other comments? Everybody, please vote. And that passes unanimously. Item number C. Okay, item number C, at our last regular meeting, we tabled some policies. It might have been at the committee meeting. Was it a last regular meeting? Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Hart.
Thank you, Superintendent Jabbia, Mr. President Bro, and board members. We did table those 3 policies in August. I've been working with Paul, and we are still tweaking the home study and then the interscholastic and co-curricular activities. So we do have some other policies that I would like to organize another policy work group to get together to go over these one more time, as well as the other policies that we have coming up. Those are not ready for us to present next week in the October meeting. So I would like to go ahead and have that work group and then bring these to committee as a whole in November.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Okay. Item number D, recommendation to revise salary schedule for demand stipend criteria. And this is kind of like a two-part. Item D and E kind of go together. Who's going to talk on this?
Steve is, yes, Steve is.
Steve?
Yeah, both items go together. I want to thank Ms. Prevost for helping me organize some of this. We're requesting that the salary schedule be revised as followed, which is in line with the MOU with the Federation that is on the agenda. So number 1, on page 22, the urgent intervention and comprehensive intervention required school stipends criteria has been revised to remove the requirement for a class roster or caseload. So just removing the verbiage class roster or caseload on page 22. On page 22 also, the effectiveness stipend criteria has been revised to remove the requirement for a class roster, caseload, and a student learning target. Just FYI, Dr. Langlois here, if you have any questions relative to that when we're done about the effectiveness stipends, but the state scores have not been released, and the stipends are based upon the scores from last year, the criteria from last year. So that has not been released to us yet, but any questions relative to that, Dr. Langlois is here. Principal and assistant principal stipend criteria was changed to remove the reference of a class roster. On number 4 on page 26, the LHSAA has sanctioned bowling as a spring sport. So we got together and we added bowling is now recognized as a stipend sport at 5% in high schools only. And it would be for one coach, 5% for one coach to represent the bowling team. Page 27, certificated longevity pay criteria wording has been revised for clarity. The sentence calculation payout is based on the employee's anniversary date has been added, and Ms. Prevost can explain that if needed. And the last one on page 28, support longevity criteria wording has been revised for clarity also. The sentence calculation payout is based on the employee's anniversary date has been added too. So any questions, the team's here, and it's relative, Ms. Prevost will handle the salary schedule. The team's here to talk about the MOUs if needed.
Okay, do I have a motion? Ms. Baker? Ms. Fauntleroy? Okay, any comments from the public? The motion is to accept the revision to the salary schedule. Any comments from the public?
Oh, press.
Seeing none. Comments from the board?
This may not be current.
Ms. Baker?
Oh, well, Mr. Herrera.
Wow,
No, you're good? Okay, thank you. Ms. Prevost, so on the salary schedules, where it says teachers 181 days, I'm confused where you have pay level 0. I didn't think anybody started at 0. I thought we did that two-step.
We're doing it for now, but we may at some point in the future not do it. So it's an incentive right now that's passed year to year.
Gotcha.
So that's why I've left the 0.
Yeah.
0 and 1.
But a new teacher coming in.
They go
today,
at 2.
They go at
start
2.
at 2 currently.
now.
With no experience, right?
With no, that's, okay.
Ms. Moore?
I know, I just heard about the principal assistant, which is great, being able to not have to have a class roster. What about the TRTs? I hear from them all the time.
They'll be able to get it now.
They are?
Yes, we took the class roster case.
Thank you, Terry.
The principals, that was the exception to their criteria. They didn't need to have a caseload.
They got,
Yeah, they didn't.
sometimes they have 600 students, so yeah, I agree.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board members? Oh, okay, Ms. McCollum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Prevost, within our budget, how is this going to affect our budget?
Well, we don't have scores yet, so it's difficult to estimate it, but
Right.
I'm figuring it's around 200 people. Depending on how many of those are at targeted schools, that's 500. I'm assuming they're all going to be effective, so they would get the 1,000. So I'm guessing in the 300,000 low range to the 400,000 with benefits. And I did
And
not
how are
factor
we
that in.
adjusting that with the budget?
We'll just have to see how we end up and maybe have to do a revision at the end.
Okay.
I did put some pads in for payroll to be safe, so, because I didn't know how over the various supplements that have gone up and things like that. So there is some pad in there.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
That it? All right, everybody, please vote. That passes unanimously. The companion item is acceptance of memorandum of understanding between St. Tammany Federation of Teachers and School Employees and St. Tammany Parish School Board as presented by the administration, and I assume it mimics what we just passed.
And more, and some others.
And more.
Yes.
Okay, well, do we have a motion? Ms. Rutherford? Do I have somebody on this side? Anyone second? Nobody wants to second it? I'll second it. All right. Any comments from the public?
Brad, do you want to come up and we can talk a little bit? If y'all don't mind, board members, you don't mind? So Mr. Osborne and I got together and there were just some issues that we needed to address. First thing was the board members, of course, as you remember, when we redid the CBA, you asked us to remove anything that was a financial, that just mimicked a one-year portion of that contract. So we pulled all that out. So part of this is the addendum. This is the incentives that we had already previously agreed on as cleaned up as you just voted on. So Mr. Osborne and I got together to meet to get those ironed out. We needed to get our signature on those things since they were pulled out, just to make them official. So that's what we did. And then we got together to address some of the issues that we've been having when it comes down to some breaks and some coverage of duties. Brett, you want to talk about that a little bit?
We try to do the best we can for each group. But sometimes you have to look at who's going to be impacted the most. So when we did those exemptions that some of y'all pointed out with the SLPs, the counselors, mental health providers, nurses on certain campuses, that was catastrophic almost in terms of being able to distribute duty equitably. There's some caveats here that still make sure they're able to maximize what they're offering to children. SLPs, you want to make sure they can still do those therapy sessions or crisis intervention from the MHPs. And some campuses may not choose to use nurses in that capacity. Certainly you wouldn't want to put them on an island where they couldn't respond to an emergency. So there's just some caveats there. But now, if a campus can't hit the 90 minutes, then principals may require, they don't have to, but they may require them to be in the mix. And I feel like that's fair. With the 15-minute lunches, we had to be a little more flexible. Sometimes you try to address a concern with one group and it has an unintended consequence with another group. So with paraprofessionals, ideally you want them to have 1:15 in the morning, 1 30-minute lunch, and 1:15 in the afternoon. But with food service, because of the way of the schedule, sometimes you would want to be able to combine them. So that was the case at Salmon High School. Traditionally, they had done lunch for the kids, then they had their 30-minute lunch with a 15-minute attached, and then they knocked out the rest of the day. And so we just wanted to be able to give that flexibility, so it's a minor adjustment. And so it's just one of those things, just like when a policy or a law gets passed and there's unintended consequences, you have to go back and clean it up. So that's what we did. The last one is something Ms. Gallagher had pointed out. The easiest way to do that would just be to name all reserve, but I think it's nice to have every single one you could possibly be in. So thanks for pointing that out. So we did correct that issue with this. So they're pretty straightforward. They don't cost any money, so that's good. But I do think it will help with the quality of life, so.
And I appreciate, Brent, we sat down with the administrative team, we addressed, we had our first labor committee meeting, and we addressed some issues that, have been popping up so that we can work on solutions. And then, this is something we solidified during that meeting, just kind of working together to address some concerns about duty and about campuses that might have that struggle, as Brant talked about, with providing that break and lunch. There might be situations where they need to be combined, and we want to be flexible, that if the administration and the employee were good with it, then we could move forward with that. So appreciate you doing all that. And again, back to the stipends, we just needed to clean those up. You all got emails, I got emails, most of the staff got emails. These scores are based on last year's data. That was the biggest issue we're trying to do right by kids. The incentive is set so that you grow kids. It's to incentivize our employees to grow students. That's what it's there for. The hang-up was, excuse me, is that these scores are based on last year's data. And unfortunately, that data hasn't even been solidified yet. We haven't gotten our VAM scores and those things back yet. So there was a lot of people, having a really rough time, struggling, because they put in a lot of time. So we wanted to make sure we were fair and equitable. And yes, there is an impact to the budget, but when you look at it, it's the right thing to do. And we will continue, Terry and myself and the staff will continue to work on making sure that we stay within our constraints and continue to cut back and hopefully save money along during the year so that this has a minimal impact to our budget overall. So, but thank you very much.
I could add, Frank, this was never intended to be a slight to some of the ones that were excluded. We absolutely value instructional coaches, counselors, and all those things. It's just at the time, that's what we felt was the best deal. But things are a bit better than they were at that time. I also think the Federation was reactionary in its communications about the changes. We should have known that was going to be a big issue. So I'll take responsibility for not communicating that in the process, because I know before the vote, if those groups knew they were being excluded, we would have heard more about it. So I think communication was a piece of that. So I'll own a piece of that. But I just want people to know these stipends may look different moving forward. Okay, and I just want to bring this point up. Frank mentioned incentives. The first incentive ever created was in 2012 with Act 1, and that was the performance stipend, the effectiveness stipend. What that was designed to do was raise test scores, because that's all the state of Louisiana cares about. And they keep getting worse and worse with that fixation. So the group this targeted incentive is really for is the VAM teacher. And there aren't many of them, okay? I was a VAM teacher teaching 9th and 10th grade. They are the least likely to get this stipend because of that. That's not fair. But it's also not fair to, that's the state's problem. But I'm just saying a lot more counselors will get it than those VAM teachers. So it's just broken. And so I just want everybody to be aware, absolutely you deserve your money. But I think we need to rethink these incentives, okay? And maybe get away from some of the stipends and focus on more on salary. So, but I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Comments from the board? Ms. Hanson? Oh, we got a list. We got a list.
Sorry. Ms. Rufino Gallagher's first.
Mr. Fino Gallagher.
So the only question I have is just some verbiage that it has in here for the MHPs and the counselors. I think it's them. Yes, it says either of those two ideally should not be assigned duties that require disciplining students. So my question, I guess, is just the verbiage. Like, I could be in the cafeteria and I might have to discipline a student. So I guess I'm asking in the verbiage, like, what exactly do we mean by not, I know you can't do after school detention, obviously, because they're in trouble, but like every duty could happen to do that. So I'm just trying to figure out, Like, it's very vague.
Yeah, it is, but all duty areas have other teachers in the area and administrators always available. These people, we recommended to administrators, we kind of say we put them in the low-impact areas like dismissal, morning duty, things like that, where we need extra help, call line, to alleviate the other teachers' minutes. But the administrator will always be on duty, other teachers will always be on duty. You know, it's just that verbiage is in there because if you really think about it, the scope of their job, they're there to help kids, but then they're going to turn around and they're going to be disciplining kids. So that's kind of where that came from. So we're going to put, it's going to be recommended by us to put them in those low-impact areas around other teachers, and the administrator is going to be available.
Right. I mean, I see that, but just the verbiage itself is very open-ended, and I think that's a way to get out of it. Because, for example, like if you're my scapegoat, if she is in the hallway with her cell phone, I'm your MHP, it's not a duty, but I have to discipline her to put the phone away. So I feel like we're kind of, like it's weird in the sense of that we don't want them to ever discipline them. Well, then I don't want to have to go, hey, can you come out your classroom real quick so you can go discipline little Susie? Because that person can't discipline them. So to say they could never discipline kids is kind of a spot where I feel like I don't know, it's not sitting well with me, not that it matters, but I'm just saying that's where I'm uncomfortable with, because it's, to say they can't discipline a kid if they see him doing something wrong, I mean, they could be a fight at anywhere.
Well, disciplining a kid and addressing a situation is two different things. So if they see a cell phone, they can say, hey, come with me and bring them to the office. They're
Okay.
not actually administering the discipline. They can
Okay.
address a
Okay.
situation, but they're not issuing discipline. Right.
Okay.
Yes. And that's all clarified with the school's administration.
Yeah, that's right, but like I said, reading it from the
I
outside
get
looking in, I'm like, I don't know that I know it. But when you clarified it like that, like, I'll just be, hey, little Susie, let's take a walk real quick. I get it. Okay, that's all I have.
Ms. Fauntleroy?
Thank you, Mr. Bro. Ms. Rutherford was distracting me. I'm sorry.
Throw her under the bus.
Just a quick question on the instructional coaches. Will that stipend come out of
That comes out of
federal
title
funds?
yes.
Okay, so it's not coming out of the general fund?
It does not
Okay.
impact general fund.
Okay, and then my other thing, I guess Mr. Osborne, Mr. Jabby, I'm not sure. So I just want to make sure I understand correctly. It is possible that some of our nurses will have duty and others will not? I mean, or any class, I'm just using nurses as an example.
It would be up to the needs of the school.
Okay.
You know, I mean, some of these schools are in really desperate shape.
Yeah, I understand. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure they understand that when they're talking to their nurse friends, some schools may have duty and some might not, and,
Yeah, well, Ms. Fauntleroy, you know, as a principal.
Right.
Like, some teachers have duty, some teachers don't. We're recommending with these job classes that they're only going to be used in those high-need
Right.
schools that can address the duty minutes.
Okay.
And we're recommending to the principals, if you don't have to
Have
use
to,
them, don't use them.
okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Hanson?
Thank you, President Bro, and thank you, Mr. Alfonso, because that's what I was going to be asking in terms of these classes of employees. It's not an approval for every principal, or every duty committee to add these people to the duty schedule.
That's correct.
It is we have no other alternative. We really need this. If we can, or when we can change it around, we'll pull it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was one thing. The other thing, as far as the breaks for, 15 a.m., 15 p.m., 30 lunch, who makes the decision in terms of whether or not they will combine or they won't combine? Because I can foresee perhaps some schools saying, well, they're letting them do it and they're not letting us do it. So who makes that call?
The verbiage in the MOU, it says approval of the supervisor. You know,
Okay.
there are some issues with that, and we talked about in our Labor Management Committee. That's the people that punch in and out. So if they don't do that appropriately and then combine them, their time's not going to be right. So
Yes.
that's an issue we addressed as a team that we're going to communicate. But in the end, with that situation, some job classes need it, but at the end of the day, it's approval of their immediate supervisor.
So like perhaps the school principal will make the decision,
Well,
the final
perhaps,
call.
I mean, that's the ultimate call, but perhaps it could be the cafeteria manager.
Cafeteria
It could be
manager.
the foreman on the maintenance crew. It could be, you know,
Yes.
their immediate supervisor.
Yes, okay. So I'm glad, I'm glad we're being flexible enough to allow that for what works at that school, because what works at school A may not work at school B.
We see this a lot in cafeteria.
Yes,
We do,
I
and
recall
also,
that.
also with paras too. Right.
Especially because they come in so early in the morning and they leave not too long after the lunch services. Last thing, when you said, Mr. Osborne, stipends may look differently moving forward, and what do we mean by that?
Well, some may be tweaked, some may no longer exist, but I think the idea is everybody needs to know well in advance. So we're gonna have the spring reopener, and it's only a 1-month window. It's very tight. So going into next year, everybody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna be blindsided. So that's what I mean. I wanna,
So in other words, it's kind of like a caveat. We're doing this now, but let's not let's not expect this every year, every six, whatever, because, you know, we still have taxpayer money budgets we have to adhere to.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
thank you, Ms. Hanson.
Mr. Harrell.
Thank you, President Bro. How many schools are we short where we don't meet the number of teachers in 90 minutes that we're actually short? Do we have that number?
Well, we don't have a number, but Mary did collect some data. But just to simplify that, it's the schools that, say, a school that has a small staff to address the areas and the duty minutes.
Multiple buildings
and
and-
it's a small staff and you don't have enough people. And then it's a school, say, like Lancaster. I mean, I'm gonna kick the elephant in the room. It's like Lancaster. You got almost 1,500 kids. They just can't address it. So it goes each spectrum. Now, if you really think about like a junior high and a high school, it's not an issue. They got off periods, they got the schedules, the kids are in transition, they have designated off periods, so the duty minutes, all the minutes and all that stuff's there. Okay, but it's those schools, it's big schools, big middle schools, elementary schools, and schools that have a small staff, like a 6th ward, for example.
So let's say Lancaster. How many SLPs, counselors, MHPs, and nurses do they have at Lancaster?
Ooh, I have to look that up, but they got multiple. I mean, it's one MHP, but they could have 3 or 4 SLPs there with such a big staff. They got three SLPs.
So
Now, I
maybe-
can say this, we have a tremendous amount of SLPs that, prior to this MOU, that have volunteered to do duty.
And I know, like, Abita Elementary, they're great. All their people do volunteer. I'm just curious if Lancaster is an issue and they only have 6 staff that we're including in that, is that 9 hours more people, to duty time really solve the problem, or
Well, I could tell you what.
make it less of a problem?
Ms. Haggard, because it's a personnel thing and it's a thing dealing with Ms. Hall with duty, but from a personnel standpoint, she said she can do it. And remember, before I say what I'm about to say, this is unintended consequences of stuff that was pushed down on us that we said, hey, we gotta do it. And we staffed pretty well in our schools. Ms. Haggard said if she had 2 to 3 more itinerant teachers, she can make it happen. With 2 to 3 more itinerant teachers, you can just basically budget $75,000 per grade. You're looking at $210,000 just to address duty minutes. That's why we had to be creative as a staff to address it.
It seems like it'd be easier to raise the cap than, it's like we almost chose, we'd rather hack off these 4 job classes because they're the smaller group to make mad than raising the cap.
Well,
And the easier thing
realize,
would have been raise the cap.
like Mr. Osborne just said, it was unintended consequences when we signed the CBA that these people were excluded. They got mad. Now, when they're included, they weren't mad. Now, when they're included, they are mad. So, we got to boggle that and do what's best for the schools.
Well, I definitely think we need to try to limit unintended consequences. So if it means taking a little more time to review policy and these things, we need to do it.
Yes, sir.
I just shouldn't have to keep coming back and readdressing.
Mr. Kuzan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's good the way you did it, the way you all have done it, because it's based on individual needs. And there's going to be differences in the schools, with respect to size and interpretation. So I think it's very good the way you all have done it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, everybody please vote. That passes unanimously. We now have, moving on to the 3 minutes, and I guess some of the staff can leave if they wish. Okay, 3 minutes, Mr. or Kim. How do you- Schultz? Okay, Kim. I was gonna say Mr. Kim, but okay, it's not Mr. Kim.
I am Kimberly Schultz. I run, and I'm also an educator for Option Hope, adoption education nonprofit. We actually go into the schools to meet the state law requirement, the RS 17263, that requires for adoption awareness education to be brought into the high schools. And so if I did give y'all a handout, if you return to that very last page of the handout, you will see that we are endorsed and approved by Dr. Cade Brumley, the state education superintendent. And so we are currently in Jefferson Parish, Tangipahoa Parish, St. Charles Parish, and then also 4 other parishes in the Acadiana area. And we're in the schools and we're teaching in the schools. We're actually working right now also with some central areas in Louisiana to just even provide our curriculum to those schools, since we don't have educators in that area right now, although it's something that's also being considered by our nonprofit in hiring educators in that area. And so I'm just going to refer to my notes. So there are several GLEs that are required by the state to cover in this area, specifically the benefits of adoption to the society, the types of adoption available, the difference between foster care and infant adoption, public and private resources available to assist in the adoption process, statistical data on adoption, and then also public and private resources available, for example, something like safe haven law. And our curriculum covers all of the GLEs required by the state. And so I'm here because I'm not currently teaching in St. Tammany Parish schools. I have met with some administration, and they've all been very kind and seem to like the curriculum. And I did go through the proper channels to apply for a letter of introduction. Unfortunately, I was denied, and when I inquired about the reasons why, I was just told that adoption education is already being taught in St. Tammany Parish schools. I usually teach in the health block in all of the schools that I go in, except for Tangipahoa. Some of those schools I go into the PE block. And so I was excited to hear that and researched a little bit and went into the textbook that the health textbook that's being used in St. Tammany Parish schools, and was able to find that there is one paragraph that mentions adoption, which is awesome. So I'm just here to just advocate to be a resource or supplement to the current curriculum already being provided at St. Tammany, whether that to be, where we can come in for free and do these presentations, or even just to help supplement and teach or provide our curriculum, or to train educators. I'm just here to help. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Osborne.
We're good.
Good evening again, Board President Bro, board members, administration. I didn't catch her name, but I wanted to compliment on how professional the young lady looked in her jeans tonight. I also wanted to mention what Frank talked about, the Labor Management Committee. This was something LFT President Larry Carter recommended. He'll listen to me rant and be angry and, okay, you done? You need to sit down and talk to people. And he said, that's what this structure is about. And I felt we really did that in a professional and caring way. I mean, when you get up close to people, you do see that passion. You see Frank's passion, Steve, Mary, the different skill sets and lenses that they bring to the table to look at these different problems that we bring up. Not every problem we put on the table has an immediate solution. That's okay. We're going to meet once a month. moving forward. And having something on the calendar with the different schedules is very important because time slips away. I can't believe we're almost to October. There was positive news last week in the SWE department in that we only have 11 vacancies. But the other side of the coin is even though we've attracted people, retaining them is another issue. So we do have 139 SWE OFATs, and we have 49 TATs in SWE classrooms. So we do have to grow our own, but we're losing a lot of people when you look back at the last 3 years. I do think the new CBA is going to help SWE professionals, paras, and also teachers. Teachers previously, particularly your RNC teachers in the last CBA, didn't get any planning time at all. It was principal's discretion, and sometimes they chose to give them 0 minutes. And so I had a particular teacher in crisis. Miss Hart helped me to resolve that. One of the issues, though, was she's very stressed out in her classroom. I asked her, are you getting the 225 minutes minimum? And are you getting the guaranteed lunch or the duty-free lunch? She said no. Okay, so we do need to make sure everybody's getting what was promised so that they can have the best working conditions we can provide for them. So all I had to do was reach out to Ms. Hart. It was instantly fixed. So we like problems that we can solve that quickly. I want to end here by thanking Ms. Gardner and Mr. Davis for working tirelessly to make the SWE environments as safe as possible. I also want to thank Mr. Bodie and Mr. Alfonso for working with a particular SWE professional this week and the way that they handled that person. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Y'all drive safe.
Okay, announcements by the board president. The October committee as a whole meeting will be Thursday, October 3rd, 6 p.m., and it'll be here. The schools and offices will be closed Friday, October 4th for the fair. And then the regular meeting will be held Thursday, October 10th at 6 p.m. And I have a comment here. Please remember to check your board doc handouts for important dates. What important dates are on there? Okay. And that concludes the regular meeting. We will be entering into an executive session. And so I need a motion to go into executive session. Ms. Rufino Gallagher and Mr. Peterson, I think you were second. Okay. Everybody else can go home.
Take us short.